Welcome to Microsoft Mechanics Live. There you go. Coming up, if you're considering migrating your app infrastructure and data, or looking at ways to refactor your apps for the cloud, stay tuned as we're joined by Microsoft Solutions CVP Corey Sanders to walk through the lessons learned from real-world migrations, as well as the tools and techniques employed along the way. Everyone, please join me in welcoming Corey Sanders back to the show.
It is good to be back.
And it's good to have you back.
Oh,
now,
thank you.
In the past, we've had you on the show when you ran Azure Compute. And this year's a bit different because you've shifted focus and you've got a new role in the Microsoft Solutions team where you're helping organizations transition to the cloud. So what's that been like?
You know, my last role, I was all about building what customers would ask for next, trying to figure that out, and building those capabilities so that they could really get started and use those as we sent them out. And customers are really starting to use these things that I built back when I was in compute now, right? And so we're talking about things like our VMware offering, our migration capabilities, our Kubernetes service. And so in my new role, I now get to figure out how to help customers use what we have right now, the stuff that I helped build before, right? And so this is whether it be Azure, Office, Dynamics, or Power Platform. And so we really want to help customers get on board and use what we built. So in other words, I built the stuff. Now I got to figure out how to help people use it.
Awesome, that's the easy part.
Exactly.
So I thought we'd put your knowledge to the test from your experience in the trenches.
I'm ready.
And ask you to walk us through getting to Azure. So. Is it easy?
Yes, with a good approach. It's sort of like dancing a samba. Who can dance a samba? No one. If you wear the right shoes and you get comfortable with the beat, you'll be just fine. So samba jokes aside, because everyone loved them.
Good.
Getting deployed and running in Azure is really what people fear the most, and that's what they fear will be the hardest thing. But with the tooling and support that we have, it actually isn't the hardest thing. So let me start with maybe a question that I'll see some more hands on. How many of you out there have VMware in your environment? Okay, so more than Samba, okay? So what I'm going to tell you right now is I'm going to show you how you can get your VMs up in Azure in a really, really simple way. So let me actually show you a little bit of a demo. So here I've got the vSphere client up and running, okay? And if you look here, what I'm going to show you is I want to go do a migration, okay? And so here I'm going to do a migration from, let's say, my US East deployment into my Azure deployment. And so I'm going over to migration, and I'm going to hit Migrate here. And so this is running HCX, which is a VMware client that will make it very easy to go do this type of migration support running on your machines. So I've got this VM, HCX demo VM. And I'm going to go pick the locations with VMware that I want it to run. So I'm going to pick here to go inside cluster. And then I'm going to pick the location inside data center here. And so this is picking my VMware locations for the migration into Azure. And of course, I'm going to pick storage. So I'm going to pick vSAN here. And away I go. And so and I'm actually going to use just use vMotion. So this is going to do live migration-based movement here. And so here, let me open this up and sort of show you what I've got. And then I'm going to pick my network that I'm rolling into. And so this is going to be the network running inside Azure that this will go in. And because it's using vMotion, the beautiful thing is this is going to go with the same IP address, right? So it's just going to shift over and just work. And so take a look at this. I've got it. Make sure I've got it all right here. OK, great. Looks like I've got things set up. I'm going to go on-prem into cloud. And it validates, and away I go. And so it's really that simple to be able to migrate with live migration. It's queued up here, you can see. And let me hit refresh here and kind of get this going and see how fast I can make it go. So there we go, 100% done. So just like that, this is up and running. And it's running with all of the same tooling and experience that I would know and love. Let me hit refresh again. Maybe one more time here. Let's get this just to finish. And there we go, migration complete. Now I'm going to go back over here and show you where this is sitting. And so this is sitting here. Where is it? Ignite HCX demo. It's alphabetical order. I'm not good at this. There it is. I found it. OK, great. Perfect. So Ignite HCX demo, and here you go. It's got it running. And so the beautiful part about this is, again, it's running with the same tools that you're familiar with. But this is not it. So I did this now in VMware, and I can do it in the vSphere client. But I can also do this starting in Azure. So let me slide over here to my other screen that I've got sort of running here on the Azure portal. Okay, and so here you can see I'm going to just quickly create a simple virtual machine. And so I'm going to create this virtual machine here in my VMware environment, but using the Azure portal. Nice. So here I'll click VMware, and I'll name this, let's see, test maybe 007, okay?
Why not?
Yeah, of course, yeah. Clever, right? And so let me pick the location I want it to deploy to. I'm going to put in the dev test location. And I'm just going to use one of my vSphere templates. They're available right here. And so I can pick the right one, CentOS, and I'm creating this VM. Good, looks good. Let's hit go. Validation pass, create. Away I go. Now let me hop over and take a look at what's actually running inside vSphere. And so again, it pops up. There's test 007. And so again, you see natural experience that I'm used to. I can start in Azure and end up managing it in VMware. I can start in VMware and do migration and end up running in Azure. It gives you that simple set of tools that you're used to and familiar with, but with the agility that comes with running in the cloud.
Yeah, it's an awesome unified experience. So whichever one you're most familiar with, use that, and it's going to get you the
exactly.
You can continue to use those existing tool sets, but in reality, you're not ever going to just move your VMs like that. There's always broader considerations in terms of things like app dependencies and processes.
Yeah, so let's move away from the hypothetical and let's bake this in reality, which is really the best oven for baking, the reality oven. I often see two sides of the spectrum here. On the left side of the spectrum, a big motivator is when people want to retire their data center. It's either due to age or risk or lease timing, and they want to go move it out and decide that they're going to get out of there. The other one is business events. So when you have business events that result in either you have an acquisition that came in, and you need to decide how to handle that acquisition. You've got to increase capacity because of it, and you just can't handle it on premises. So these are some really, really very tactical, tangible reasons why people would do this type of migration.
And so in those types of cases, you've literally got to move faster than you would like. Your hands are tied in many cases. So how do you do that without breaking your environment?
Yeah, so let me give you an example. So we recently worked with a pharmaceutical company, and they were providing 6,000 solutions to high-end customers. And they were growing rapidly through acquisitions. They needed to quickly integrate the acquired applications and workloads into their existing infrastructure. As part of their acquisition terms, they had 4 weeks to figure out how to get their migration strategy up and running and get it done.
So that's only, what, 1,500 apps a week?
Yeah, so super easy, right?
Yeah, so as you can see, lots of challenges there, and it seems like capacity was a big issue, especially with ongoing acquisitions. You bring on more customers, more partners. They're a highly regulated industry. So how did they approach this?
Well, so they had a mixture of infrastructure needs, just like all of us have. They were running some Windows, they were running some Linux, they were running some SQL Server, they were running some MySQL for their data solution. And rather than try and solve these issues in their own data center, they decided the better long-term strategy was go to the cloud. Given their 4-week deadline, once we worked closely with them on some of their security and compliance configurations, we moved forward. Now, their fastest route was to just lift and shift, get 50 of their business-critical apps up and running, which equated to about 1,000 virtual machines, and they actually beat their deadline.
Wow. So how did they go about the migration?
Well, the hard part was understanding what they needed to set up in Azure to get going. For example, one common mistake that we oftentimes hear for the cloud when people are running is because you have to over-provision sometimes. Sometimes people are running on premises and they're running too much capacity than they need, and when they move into the cloud, they don't need to do that anymore. And so that's one common mistake. Another is not necessarily understanding the application dependencies. So when you're moving your app, knowing who's talking to whom and knowing how to make sure you're migrating all together.
Okay, so what did they do?
Well, so they used Azure Migrate, and that's what I'm going to show you right now. This is an awesome free tool that allows you to discover resources running in an environment and assess them and their readiness for cloud. It helps you determine their cost, and it evaluates existing infrastructure so you can understand whether servers or databases, what you should move them to, and understanding how to migrate in a simple and clean way. Awesome. And so here you can see I've actually got Azure Migrate up and running right here, ready to show.
Nice.
Okay, and so I've got Azure Migrate running, and I've already done some assessments, okay?
Because that takes a little bit of time.
It does. It takes some prep time.
Yeah.
And so these assessments are allowing you to take a view of your infrastructure. So I'll click on here. When I load this up, what you're going to see is a set of assessments running in my account, of which some have a lot of virtual machines, and some have just a few. One of the benefits is that it does allow you to understand the cost assessment that you're running. And that includes a bunch of things. It includes running as part of our A-Hub offering, which is our hybrid use benefit offering. And so you, as part of this, can actually estimate, if you are bringing your licenses with you, you can estimate the costs of both running those virtual machines and running with that discounted price. Yeah, let me pull this up and show you. So this would be the app that I migrated, the hospital app. And you can see today it's connected to an on-premises environment. But the dependencies thing that I talk about here, you can see the dependencies set up for this app. And let's see, view dependencies, okay? And so here you can see the actual dependencies between the virtual machines that are running in this app.
Okay.
And so let me zoom it down here, perfect. And so as part of this now, you can do this assessment where you can understand what VMs need to move together. So you don't want to move, let's say, one of the Windows VMs without also moving the database. And so it allows you to get that view. So when you do decide to do the actual migration, you can first test it, make sure it works, and then once it's actually up and running, here you can see I'm running, and I've used a SQL database to be able to use my backend support. Okay. And so I've done the dependencies, I've done the migration, I'm using a PaaS service, and I was able to test it before I go.
Right, so you didn't just do a straight VM migration for that database.
Correct.
You moved to
correct, using all of those built-in free tools that you mentioned, making it incredibly easy to do at scale.
So it's good to see the maturity of these tools. They're able to handle not just IaaS, but migration of various stages and phases of the infrastructure.
Yeah, and what you saw was the results of a lot of work that's happened over the past few months. So if you haven't used the Azure Migrate tool recently, please go check it out. You'll find a lot of really new cool stuff up there. And by the way, if you were wondering who the customer was, it was based on a real example. The pharma solutions provider Allscripts, which is an American-based company with a network of 2,700 hospitals and 13,000 extended care organizations.
Awesome stuff. Now, you mentioned earlier that there were two sides to the spectrum. What's the other side?
Yeah, so on the right side of the picture that we showed before, customers are moving to Azure because they need to be more agile in the market. HSBC in Hong Kong is a great example of this, where they wanted to build a cloud-native application for cashless transactions in Hong Kong. So they built their microservices-based solution on Kubernetes. And then, of course, there's the middle section. And I see a lot of organizations, when they come to the cloud, they want to do it so they can get some of the great security and compliance tools that we offer with the VMs running. This stops them from having to worry about some of the security threats that may exist on-prem because they can use our tools, our AI, to be able to predict and detect potential security concerns when running in Azure.
Exactly. And so can we see one of these solutions around app innovation where an IT team perhaps built their services to be more cloud native, as you described?
We absolutely can. How about this? Let me give you an example that shows you the full dance, the full spectrum of drivers. We have a great story with one of the world's largest shipping companies, Maersk. They had data silos in 5 regional data centers. Their data centers had reached their capacity, limiting their growth. Maintenance outages were plaguing them, and latency lowered their availability and hampered their employee productivity.
Now, that's a huge on-premises footprint to move to the cloud, and it seems like it would be a lot of work. So how long did it take?
Yeah, their first set of applications were available within weeks. They took 6 months to decommission the 5 data centers and move the workloads to the cloud, which is pretty fast to decommission that many data centers. Migration went smoothly with 0 business impact, but that's not the most interesting part. As they were moving into Azure, they decided they wanted to leverage cloud-native infrastructure and modernize their apps to get more agility.
Okay, so you could say that they went from managing physical containers to containers in the cloud.
Yes, I could say that. I didn't, but I could have. Thank you for stepping on my toes. But yes, they went with Kubernetes to handle their automation and management of their containerized applications. There are a lot of advantages for this example. You can upgrade and scale resources as needed without taking any of your critical applications offline. Nice. So let me actually show you. First of all, as I show this, something to internalize as I show you this Kubernetes demo, nodes are VMs in this situation, and pods are running the actual containers and the applications. And so here, if I go in and quickly just take a look at what's running, I'm going to take a look at my nodes running in this environment. So I've got 3 VMs, and I've got 4 containers running across those 3, and I'm going to look at the services. This load balancer is where I want to connect. So that's running my freight application. So I wrote this just for this demo, just for you.
This morning, yeah.
Okay. So now I want to make an edit. So I'm just going to go into my code quickly, and I'm going to bring in a new index page. Now I'm going to go through my normal git command. You can see I can do this update here. I'm going to push it. And now what's great about this is that with that simple push command, all actions are fully automated using GitHub Actions. And so here's what I've got. I go in here. You can see as part of this workflow, I've got the pipeline set up. And so here's what's going to run now. I did this push. It's going to go in and do and validate that I'm doing the right work. It's then going to go and create the Docker container. And so this Docker build is going to create this new container with this new website in the front end. And so here it's building. OK, it's waiting. Just let that kind of go here. OK, now I'm going to go back. And again, with just a few refreshes here, it should come up. Let's hope we don't have any more networking issues. And there you go. So I've got the new website now fully deployed just like that. Nice. So very, very fast and very easy. But wait, there's more.
There's more.
What I also want to show you here is I want to show you what the scaling capabilities are. So I'm going to open up Grafana here, which is an open source monitoring solution. I'm going to go to this page. And what I've got here is I've got the upper left, I've got the request per second. Let me just make sure I'm refreshing at the right rate. I got the request per second, and I got the request per pod here in the upper right. So I'm going to do a load test. So you see immediately my request per second shoot up, right? So I'm running now at about 200. It's going up to 300. And so the response time here in the bottom left is running really pretty bad, 45 milliseconds. Customer experience is impacted. And this is still running just across 3 VMs. And the upper right is showing how many requests per pod. Now, the bottom right is the magic place to watch, because here you can see the ACIs, the container instances that we are running and scaling in a serverless way instantaneously based on the needs of the application. So you see I'm 7, I'm going up to 9 there. And so upper right, requests per second per pod start going down. And that gives us the manageable response time that you see in the bottom left. And so instantaneous, immediate response. No new VMs were even created because they couldn't have even reacted this fast. And I'm creating these containers here in the bottom right, and I'm getting this response in this website back to a normal place, even with the scale going up to 400 requests per second.
And that's in addition to the 3 original nodes that you
That's right. So the 3 VMs and then 37 containers running the solution. So there's no downtime for servicing. Infinite scale based on those instantaneous containers, and that truly shows you the beauty of cloud native. And then add GitHub with triggers. The pull request, it shows the initiation of deployment, and then it does polling to make sure the website is automatically updated as I deployed it.
Yeah, so many organizations just use GitHub for the repo purposes, and there's so much more to it.
That's correct.
Exactly, yeah. So great example.
We're going to keep going. We got like 6 more hours of content. Taking it overnight.
So yeah, lots of cool stuff in GitHub. We'll plow through. So great examples there across the spectrum, and it's good to see the maturity, as we've mentioned already, of these tools and processes now for shifting your environment to Azure. And then from there, there's lots of better ways to optimize what you're doing and how you're doing them in the cloud with cloud-native approaches. So what's been the hardest thing about migration?
Yeah, so all the cool stuff you just saw, the hardest part may surprise all of you, but it's nothing to do with the tech. It's the mindset shift. It's about getting comfortable with running in the cloud. You saw that VMware demo, migration that I showed you. It is so easy. Management's easy. It's what you know. It just isn't your hardware anymore. But you have to get everyone aligned. Your application owners, IT leadership, the networking team, the security team, everyone has to have clear goals on what you're trying to do, the milestones, and why you're trying to do it from that spectrum of drivers that we talked about. You set up your environment, you get your training, and you go. And this is where we actually have a great program to help you, the Azure Migration Program. It's focused on enabling you to get the training you need, either you yourself or your teams, get the environment set up, and get going with migration.
Cool.
So you should check that out. And it uses the Cloud Adoption Framework, which is all about helping you think through the things you need to know to make this shift in your environment and get going.
Cool, thank you so much, Corey. It's awesome that you came with these examples and really made it real for everyone, including me and
bet.
the audience. Now, I know you covered some of the migration highlights, and there's a lot more to every migration. So how can people learn more?
Well, of course, we have a large ecosystem of Azure migration partners that you can tap into, alongside Microsoft's team of Azure engineers in Fast Track to help. Also, as we saw in the examples, it's good to build your confidence starting a little bit small and graduating up to migrating things that are more business critical. And also, of course, the Azure Migration Center is a great destination to get the tools and resources you need at azure.com/migrate. Check out the migration series on this amazing show, Microsoft Mechanics, at aka.ms Migration Series. And of course, the Azure Migration Program at aka.ms/amp, one-stop shop to help you with training, set up your environment, and go. These are just a few of my favorite things.
Awesome stuff, Corey. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, everyone in the audience and at home, you can keep checking back to Microsoft Mechanics for the latest in tech updates. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.